Yellowstone set for future spin-off starring fan favorite Luke Grimes. Yellowstone is reportedly set to get a further spin-off on a brand new channel. Yellowstone and subsequent spin-offs have broadcast on Paramount Plus to date. However, this new offering would air on CBS. No deals are yet in place, but Variety reported it had confirmed that early discussions were in place for the new series. It would focus on Luke Grimes, who would reprise his role as livestock commissioner, and former Navy SEAL Case Dutton. Although the original Yellowstone series ended in December last year, after 5 series, the show has spawned a number of spin-offs and remains hugely popular with viewers. Cole Hauser and Kelly Rayleigh are set to reprise their roles as fan favorites Rip and Beth Wheeler in their own series, which is currently in the works. Showrunner Taylor Sheridan also created the prequels 1883 and 1923. Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren are currently starring in the 2nd season of the latter. The Madison, starring Michelle Pfeiffer, is yet another show in the Yellowstone universe. Luke played Case Dutton since the 1st season of Yellowstone in 2020. He was the youngest of the powerful Dutton family, headed by his father John, Kevin Costner. His father took issue with his marriage to Broken Rock Indian Reservation resident Monica Long, played by Kelsey Asbell, and Casey was often forced to prove where his loyalties lay. At the end of the show, the character successfully sold the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch to Thomas Rainwater and the Broken Rock Indian Reservation for the same price his ancestors purchased it for, $1.25 per acre. Case, who worked as a livestock commissioner during the course of the original series, retained a small part of the ranch on which to live with his family, which could serve as the basis for the new project. Luke had previously spoken out about the end of the flagship show. For 7 years we've been doing this, and we started in 2017. That's crazy. Yellowstone has been one of the most intense experiences of my life, he said. Also, one of the most rewarding. It's changed my life in every way possible. Nothing will ever be the same because of this show in all sorts of ways, good and bad. I will miss it terribly. I know that. The Montana sky stretched wide, endless and unforgiving, the sun setting behind the towering ridges of the Absaroka Range. The Dutton Ranch, battle-worn but standing, was quieter now, its echoes of past feuds and bloodshed settling like dust over the land. But there was no such thing as peace on this land, only the illusion of it. And Case Dutton knew that better than anyone. Case stood at the edge of a ridge, staring out over the land that had cost his family so much. His father, John, had fought like hell to protect it, but time had a way of catching up with even the fiercest warriors. The Yellowstone would never truly belong to anyone. It was borrowed, stolen even, from the earth, and the debt it demanded was paid in blood. After years of turmoil, Case had tried to forge a life outside of the Dutton legacy, away from the ghosts that haunted his family's name. He'd lived on the reservation, he'd run wild horses, he'd fought in wars no one could understand. And yet, here he was, right back where he started. But this time, the fight wasn't just about the land. It was about survival. A new threat had come to Montana, wearing the polished smile of progress and the stench of greed. Orion Beck, a billionaire with ties to tech, real estate, and everything in between, had set his sights on Paradise Valley. He wanted to transform it into something new, something he claimed would benefit the state. A new West, he called it, luxury resorts, high-tech agriculture, sustainable communities for the ultra-rich. Case had seen men like Orion before. They never stopped until there was nothing left but asphalt and broken promises. The only thing standing between Orion and his dream of conquest was the Yellowstone Ranch, and Case Dutton. Rip Wheeler still ran the bunkhouse, though the crew had changed. Some of the old hands remained, Colby, Ryan, Teeter, but there were new ones too. Hardened men, ranchers who had nowhere else to go, fighters who'd been through enough wars to know when they were walking into another one. Rip didn't have to say it out loud, but everyone understood. This was the last stand for Yellowstone. Beth Dutton had done her part to keep the ranch from slipping into the hands of corporations and developers, but she was running out of ways to hold the wolves at bay. Jamie was long gone, his name barely spoken anymore. And John Dutton, well, his legacy was now in Case's hands. And Case wasn't sure he wanted it. Monica watched him from the porch of their small house on the ranch. Tate, now nearly a man, worked the cattle alongside the wranglers, trying to find his own place in a world that threatened to swallow him whole. Monica knew the weight Case carried. He was always caught between two worlds, between the land his father fought for and the people who'd been stripped of it long before the Duttons laid their first fence post. "We don't have to stay," she said softly, running her fingers through his hair as he sat on the steps, lost in thought. Case exhaled. "I know." But leaving wasn't that simple. Not anymore. The war for the Yellowstone was coming, and it wasn't just about cattle or land rights this time. It was about history. It was about bloodlines and the question of who truly belonged to this place. Orion Beck had his investors, his politicians, and his army of lawyers. But Case had something money couldn't buy. He had loyalty. As the first snowfall dusted the valley, Case rode out at dawn, the cold air biting against his skin. He had a meeting to attend, one that would determine the fate of the Yellowstone. He wasn't just John Dutton's son anymore. He was the last line of defense between the past and an uncertain future. And he wasn't backing down. Yellowstone, new blood, coming soon.